UFC Vegas 40, aka UFC Fight Night, Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont. Welcome to our preliminary card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxingmmapicks. He goes by the name of Zan, I go by the name of Harris, and as usual, we are giving you our fight-by-fight breakdown, fight-by-fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective, here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to stay away from, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action sticking around towards the end of the video. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, and participate in the comments. We want to hear from you. What picks are you feeling? How do you feel about our picks? Let's have all of that good banter in the comments below. But of course, we are going to get started with this preliminary card prediction video. We have six fights, I should say, on our prelim card. And we're going to get right into fight number one. For fight number one, we have Istela Nunes taking on Ariane Carnelossi. And I'll get started with breaking these two fighters down here, with Ariane Carnelossi starting first. She beat Na Liang back in April. Shorter fighter, you see her standing there at 5'2", stockier fighter. She's going to be that fighter that's always coming forward in her attack. Pressure fighter. Even if you go back to her Angela Hill fight, she had Angela Hill on the back leg for all 3 rounds. So has that really impressive ability to continue to come forward for the entire fight. Likes to clinch, likes to march forward with some decent hand-heavy stand-up, solid combination. She has some pop in her strikes as well. Likes to engage, like I said, no matter what, she's going to keep coming forward. And that works to her advantage, right? She showed her grappling as well, and her scrambling, and her top pressure, and her ground and pound, and her overall ground ability in her last fight as well. So she is a pretty solid overall fighter. Istela Nunes is coming in as a newcomer, making her UFC debut. It's actually been 3 years since her last fight. From what I saw 3 years ago, looks pretty relaxed on the feet, looks to be a pretty dynamic striker. She has that Thai style, good leg kicks, good front kicks, pretty decent Thai clinch. Doesn't really have the best ground game defensively from what I've seen. Not the best at getting back up, and I feel that's probably going to be her biggest disadvantage in this fight. Carnelossi has that pressure on the feet that could work to her advantage. May not even have the better stand-up, because I did see some pretty good stand-up from Istela Nunes, but I think that forward pressure is going to allow her to be more effective. And again, I think Carnelossi has the overall ground game advantage as well. So I think she just has a little bit more tools. Of course, we don't know what Istela Nunes is going to look like 3 years later, but if I'm basing it off of what I've seen from Istela Nunes 3 years ago, my pick is going to be Ariane Carnelossi. So I'm sticking with Ariane Carnelossi, -160. Not too mad at that.
Yeah, this is a tough fight to start off the card with, because obviously, as you mentioned, Istela hasn't fought in a couple of years, and that could affect her. Obviously, not being in the cage for that period of time. Her game, though, I think she has a solid striking game. I believe she's a Muay Thai fighter. I believe she's done some Muay Thai fights, and I think she could win like from on points, like just fighting from a distance, using her length, her kicks. Good. She has good striking, pretty technical. But as you indicated, Carnelossi has that pressure. She has that pressure where it's not going to be easy for Istela to stay on the outside and keep it at range, because Carnelossi, again, she's a truck. She's very strong physically, one of the strongest girls in MMA pound for pound, like with just strength. You just see her there in her last fight. She was able to flip, what's that girl's name again? She was able to flip Na Liang around. She basically won that fight with heart, and also just being the stronger girl. She was in bad spots, and she just out-muscled her. So I'm with you on this one. I like Carnelossi, but I would really like her if I know that she goes towards her grappling, if I know that in fights she'll utilize a lot of takedowns. I think she only has like one takedown, and I don't think she got it. I think she only has one takedown attempt, and I don't even think she was successful at it. So, but again, I think she could take down Istela here, but I'm not sure she's going to go that route. Even if she doesn't go the takedown route, I think she's a solid. She's solid on the feet enough to win with her pressure, her heart, her cardio. I think as the fight goes on, I think Ariane's going to still be there, pushing that high pace. So I'm going to go Ariane, but I think she could make it easy if she grapples. I don't think that's going to happen where she's going to be initiating a lot of takedowns. But even on the feet, I still like Ariane here to hold it out to get the win here with her pressure. So I'm going to go Ariane as well to get the win here.
Fight number 2 in that case, we have Danaa Batgerel taking on Brandon Davis. For Danaa Batgerel, he beat Kevin Natividad back in April. He's on a 2-fight win streak at this point. A pretty good fluid movement on the feet as a kickboxer. He has that kickboxing background, so definitely credentialed. Good lateral movement. I like his fakes. I like his feints. Good distance control, good leg kicks, good combinations. Again, he's very technically sound. Pretty diverse striking skill set, especially with the legs, as I mentioned, but very much with the hands as well. So, you're really going to be able to rely on him with his ability on the feet. He does get hit at times, especially if you can put the pressure on him. But he does have some sneaky takedowns. I know he doesn't have any to his name in the UFC, but I have seen him land it. So I'm curious to see if that is ever a factor in this fight. For Brandon Davis, he's making his return to the UFC. He fought in the UFC a number of years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago. He's been fighting at, kind of the regional scene for the last 2 years. And those lower level fights, showed that he definitely belongs at a UFC level. He just looked at a higher class than his opponents in those lower level events. Decent MMA stand-up, decent calf kicks. He's pretty patient, looks to be in control, has decent hands. And he's going to be somebody that keeps the fight on the feet. But, ultimately, I look for Danaa Batgerel to just be the overall better striker here. Brandon Davis, although he's solid, I don't think he presents an overwhelming style. And like I said, to beat Danaa Batgerel, you have to sort of present that overwhelming style. I don't think Brandon Davis has it. As a result, I think Danaa Batgerel is going to be the more talented overall striker of these two fighters. And I think he's going to pull it out. So, I look at -195. I'm not too mad at that. Some decent value. I will say Brandon Davis is definitely game, but Danaa Batgerel is going to be my pick.
Yeah, I'm going Batgerel all day here. When I look at Brandon Davis, he was in the UFC before, and whenever he stepped up the competition, he didn't look well. I know he got a win against, I think it was Randy Costa, but that was Randy Costa's fifth fight in the UFC. So whenever he stepped it up against a veteran in the UFC, he got L's. He lost these fights. Some were close, but whenever he steps up, he's not there. And you look at Danaa Batgerel, this guy has pop. He has a good left hand. He's finished his last 2 fights with that the left hook. And yeah, he has some decent wins on his record. Kevin Natividad is a legit fighter. He was able to get that win. He knocked out Guido Canetti. I like him in this spot. The sharper striker. He's never been finished. So I think he's going to hold his own. This could go 3 rounds, but I actually think that Batgerel might find the chin here and get a knockout. But I'll go Danaa Batgerel to get the win here.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 3. We have Ľudovít Klein taking on Nate Landwehr. We see Ľudovít Klein here at -300. I'll start with my prediction itself. I am going with Ľudovít Klein all day on this one. Klein did lose to Mike Trizano, though, back in May. He was a decent-sized favorite in that fight as well, so be careful with that. He is considered a boxer, has sharp hands, southpaw, good speed, good movement, a lot of in and out movement, very quick jab, good combinations, nasty left high kick as well. It's sort of a signature move for him is that left high kick. So that is, showing his diversity. Showed some holes in his game in his last fight, right? Couldn't really deal with the pressure, couldn't really deal with the bigger fighter in Mike Trizano. And Trizano looked pretty decent, especially with the jab. Showed some takedown ability in that fight. So that definitely adds a layer to his game. And you take a look at his UFC numbers, 3.69 takedowns per fight, again, showing that he has that sort of overall complete game. For Nate Landwehr, on the other hand, he lost to Julian Erosa in February. He has that, solid stalking style of stand-up, somewhat decent boxing, decent counter puncher, decent in and out movement, in and out of striking range. He could use some better striking defense, though. He doesn't move his head that much. He does have some wrestling, good scrambling if he's taken down. But again, we take a look at his UFC numbers, 0 takedowns. I wouldn't call that a threat by any means. But like I said, I started with my prediction. I'm going with Ľudovít Klein. I feel like Nate Landwehr's lack of striking defense will cause major problems for him in this fight. I actually think Nate Landwehr's stalking style is going to work against him as well. And again, he doesn't really have that wrestling to any kind of threatening degree to present a different layer or a different game plan for Ľudovít Klein. So I like Ľudovít Klein all day in this one. I think he's going to pick Nate Landwehr apart.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, man. Ľudovít Klein, too clean. He's a decent fighter. He's lost against Trezano. Trezano knows how to win. He's a game guy. He's well-rounded. He's won the Ultimate Fighter. So Trezano is definitely a tough matchup here. But yeah, I really like Ľudovít Klein here. I think Nate Landwehr is too one-dimensional. He's very sloppy. He's robotic. He's a madman in there, though. So he can just land that one punch and all of a sudden the tides change and go in his favor. But the Ľudovít Klein's too clean, and you can always go for takedowns. This is his fight to win. The UFC's wants him to win. Obviously, they give him an opponent that caters to his style. He should beat this guy. Really, he should beat him pretty easily. So I'm going to go Ľudovít Klein here to get the decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes him. But yeah, let's take Ľudovít for the win.
Sounds good. Let's move on to fight number 4. In that case, we have Sijara Eubanks taking on Luana Carolina. How do you feel about this one?
Okay, I'm really impressed with Sijara lately. Her grappling, it's really good for that division. Like, she gets these girls on the ground. She's able to get takedowns on them. She's able to hold them for the whole rounds. I see her doing that for at least 2 rounds here. And I think that's how the fight's going to go. She's going to hold her own on the feet, get her against the cage, get on top. And I don't think Carolina is going to be able to defend much as far as getting back to her feet. So I like Sijara here to get this to the mat, grind it out, win a decision.
Yeah, to your point, that was sort of the exact same analysis that I came to. I think that she can at least win the first 2 rounds by using her boxing and her wrestling and obviously her grappling to be able to keep her opponents down. Eubanks is sort of one of those fighters that can do it all. Don't be too alarmed by her record there at 8 wins, 6 losses. Obviously, she's faced sort of the cream of the crop in the division. For Carolina, on the other hand, Muay Thai style of fighter, right? She looks good when she puts them together, but she does start slow. She isn't active enough at times, in my opinion. Fights from the outside as well, has a decent tie clinch, knees and elbows. But I don't think she has the best striking defense. And more importantly, I don't think she has the best takedown defense. I know on paper, 90% takedown defense in 3 fights, but she wasn't really taking on fighters who have a strong ground game the way Sijara Eubanks does. Has a solid guard, won't take too much damage, but as you mentioned earlier, she won't really get back up. So I'm looking for Sijara Eubanks, even though Sijara has slowed down as fights go on in her fights. She is 36 years old as well. I think she's going to do enough at least for 2 rounds. And I don't think Luana Carolina is enough of a threat to end the fight in the 3rd. So I'm looking at 29-28, potentially 30-27. Sijara Eubanks minus 240. I feel pretty comfortable about that pick as well. So I'm also going to go with Sijara Eubanks, and we are going to move on to fight number 5. Maybe a little bit of a trap fight here. Danny Roberts taking on Ramazan Emeev. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, this could be a tricky fight here, but Danny Roberts, the better striker, fluid on his feet. He's gonna be able to fight from a distance against Ramazan. Ramazan does not have the best striking, but Ramazan definitely keeps the pressure. He likes to hold the front foot in the cage. He likes to march his opponents down, and he has a cheat code. He gets them against the cage, and these guys can't move, and that's where he'll hold you for 2-3 minutes, and then you have to give him the win in that round. So Ramazan's not the most flashiest guy, the most skilled guy, but he's really smart in terms of how to get wins, like with the UFC judging. I think in this fight, Danny Roberts has a clear hole with the wrestling. That's what Ramazan does well. Ramazan can take punches, so Roberts can land, but I think Ramazan can take a shot. So I think he's going to take a shot, tie it up, get him against the cage. After 2nd round, I could see Roberts slowing down because of the cardio, because of the pace of the fight, the amount of grappling happening in this match. So even though I'm not too high on Ramazan's skills, I think his IQ is really high here. And I think he's going to get it done here. Utilize a lot of cage control, clinch him against the cage, maybe get a takedown. Even if he doesn't get a takedown, he's able to win the round by just holding you against the cage. So I like Ramazan in this spot because I don't think Roberts has that wrestling to hold him off. So Ramazan's my pick.
Yeah, I won't spend too much time here. Not really too much for me to add. Like you said, Danny Roberts is definitely the better striker. Almost has that sort of Edson Barbosa type of frame, and even moves like Edson at times. In terms of how he fights from the outside. But like you said, with Ramazan Emeev, he's going to put that pressure on you. He's going to use that chain wrestling, Dagestani style, smothering wrestling approach. Clinch work against the cage, make it dirty. Take out your cardio and just grind the round out. And like you said, he can take a punch. Probably not the best stand up, but I think his stand up is serviceable. And he can take a punch, like you said. So, he's going to use that to his advantage. I think I can see him landing, 1 to 2 to 3 takedowns, at least in the first 2 rounds or in the second and the third round or something like that. And again, I think that's sort of the name of the game for him. And I think that's sort of the script and his path to victory. And I don't really see Danny Roberts having an opportunity to stop that. Danny Roberts only has 53% takedown defense. Danny Roberts is also 6-4 in the UFC, so a bit inconsistent on his end. So for every reason that you mentioned, Ramazan Emeev is also going to be my pick, and I'm actually going to rely on him to be able to take a punch, in sort of giving that vote of confidence for that -240. I really like the value there. Granted, he doesn't get knocked out. So Ramazan Emeev is going to be my pick, and we are going to move on to the final fight of the prelims. We have Andrew Sanchez taking on Bruno Silva. Andrew Sanchez, he lost to Mahmoud Muradov in January. A pretty solid overall fighter, strong clinch, strong wrestling, keeps you on the cage, some dirty boxing, some knees in the clinch as well. In the stand-up, he's going to show you that karate-like style, decent movement with it, willing to engage. He'll definitely eat a few shots to give a few shots. Sneaky combinations, setting up with that inside leg kick. So he is somebody that, sometimes has a game plan as well in how he throws his combinations. Bruno Silva looked pretty solid in his last fight versus Wellington Turman. That was back in June. He's on a 5-fight win streak now. Introduced in the ring as a striker, really lunges forward into his strikes pretty heavily, looks to land big, powerful strikes. He can switch stance. I know it's indicated there as orthodox, but I've definitely seen him switch stance. Pretty diversified and dynamic in his striking approach. He does swing somewhat wildly with his hands, but his feet are pretty crisp from what I've seen. And he has some good takedowns, good ground and pound from him as well. I've seen him shoot from across the cage and still land the takedown. So he's definitely somebody that can land that. Defensively, good scrambling. I've seen a decent guard out of him as well. And really from a prediction perspective, I really think Silva is just the better overall fighter. I think he's a little bit more dangerous on the feet. I think he has a little bit more pop in general. I think he's the better grappler despite Andrew Sanchez's wrestling ability. This is one of those fights where I feel like you have, again, a very solid opponent in Andrew Sanchez, but I don't see Bruno Silva running into any major problems. And I do like Bruno Silva in this spot. Last time I checked, I think he was a -130 favorite. So I really like him in this spot. Again, Sanchez is a game opponent. Not surprised if Andrew Sanchez has some effective moments in this fight, but I'm really liking the value that Bruno Silva is providing in this slot.
Yeah, this fight's a close fight for Vegas. They're saying this is close. The wrestling, though, is a big thing I'm worried about. Andrew Sanchez has world-class wrestling, but one thing when you look at Andrew Sanchez in his last 3 fights against Muradov versus Wellington Turman versus Marvin Vettori, but Marvin Vettori makes sense. He hasn't landed a single takedown in all 3 of those fights. And prior to that, he was landing 2 takedowns against Marc-Andre Burial in 2019, 3 against Ryan James, 4 against Anthony Smith, 6 against Khalil Roundtree. What I believe is because I don't think Sanchez cardio can keep up as he was able to do when he started out in the UFC. I think he gets tired too fast now, so he knows not to waste his energy in the wrestling, because he has really good wrestling that he should be able to get a double leg, hold these guys on the ground, but for some reason, he's not doing that anymore. This stays on the feet. Bruno Silva is too dangerous. He has a lot of first-round finishes. He's 32. He's in his prime. He had a rough start maybe early on in his career, but he seemed to have turned it around. He's on a roll right now. So It's his prime. I think, like you said, he's the better striker here. The grappling, he has good grappling. You saw what he did versus in his last fight. I think it was against Wellington Turman. He was able to like pretty much defend himself in the grappling area, get the finish. So I like him in this spot here. Bruno Silva, too vicious, keep it on the feet. Likely first round knockout. He's been doing that lately. So, but I'll go with Bruno Silva to get the win, decision or knockout.
Let's take it to Vegas in that case. So in terms of the preliminary card, we have 6 fights. Any underdogs that you're taking a look at?
No, man. I'm not looking at. I'm not really liking the underdogs on the prelims.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna echo that. I was taking a look at some of the underdogs here. I really don't like any of them. I would caution anyone to not go underdog hunting on this prelim card. So let's skip over that. In terms of favorite picks, who do we like?
All right, favorite picks. I like Sijara Eubanks. I like Ľudovít Klein, Ramazan Emeev, and I'm going to go with Bruno Silva.
Nice juicy 4-fight parlay there, providing a plus 365. $100 will return $465. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return 4 figures at $1,164. In terms of myself, I'm going to go a little bit more conservative with my prediction, or my favorites, I should say. And I'm going to drop 2 of these fights, although I do like them as well. I'm dropping the Klein fight. I'm dropping the Eubanks fight, and I'm sticking to Ramazan Emeev and Bruno Silva. Those 2 would pay a plus 149. So $100 will return $249. And for our bigger bettors, $250 will return $623. So let's sign off on that note. Like I said, please participate in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up as well. And again, let us know how you feel about our picks. Let us know if you have any underdogs for this prelim card. Let us know what parlays you're considering, and we're always more than happy to give you some additional insights on your picks specifically. But like I said, we are going to sign off. This has been the UFC Vegas 40, aka UFC Fight Night, Aspen Ladd versus Norma Dumont preliminary card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, let's get this money.
Let's get it.